have you found the tech industry evolving to become more inclusive to women? And if so, in what ways?
So I definitely think it's inclusive for women. In my program, that I was in, there was around 30 other cohorts, and half of it was women, half of it was men. And the person that finished top of the program was a female. I never felt like anyone was discouraging because I was a female. I felt honestly encouraged, and everyone was like, wow, there's so many females in tech now. Like, I think now we see more women in tech than we did before, and the change is happening. And honestly, I think being a woman, you kind of have leverage now because people want to see more women in technology. So now when women are applying, they like that. They want to encourage women to be more involved. And it's honestly never been an issue. Even when talking to other men that are like higher seniority, I never really get any backlash because I'm a woman. So I think at IBM, at least, to say the least, it's been great in terms of diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, adding to that, I had a little bit of a different experience with my cohort. It was primarily male dominated, so there was more males in my summit cohort than females, and I think a big reason for that is in the sales industry in particular in technology. I think a lot of females are intimidated by tech sales. It seems like it's a challenging thing. It's been historically dominated by males, and so sometimes I think we doubt ourselves. I even doubted myself throughout the process, going into IBM, thinking, maybe I'm not up to par, maybe I don't have enough skills to properly perform in this role. So, I do see room for improvement for sure. But on that note too, I've never felt as though I've been marginalized as a woman in the role. If anything, I feel as though being a woman in tech or in sales is actually a benefit because people do want to help you out. They do want to see you succeed, and they will support you. So yeah, I think I've had a really positive experience. I've had some really excellent female mentors too, that have helped me throughout my career, and male mentors. So I think it's just a matter of building those relationships and being confident in yourself, and realizing that you do add value, and don't be afraid of a job description, because I think most of the time when we look at a job description as a female, if we're missing 2 of the skills, we won't apply. Whereas if a male is missing 5 of the skills, they'll always apply. So never feel deterred by those things. And I think that if we continue to push forward that way, there's going to be more representation in the years to come. But definitely, I think that there's already so much great growth and positivity towards females in tech and in sales.
Yeah, awesome. I think that all businesses right now understand how much of a strategic priority it is to really ensure that they have both female and male representation at the table, not only from a business perspective, because obviously diversity of gender and even more intersectionality, diversity in race and everything like that leads to greater business results because you have diversity of thought. So of course, I think businesses are looking at it from 2 perspectives. One, it's the right thing to do. Number 2, it's the right direction to go for your business as well. So I think it's definitely top of mind for a lot of organizations right now. And I think my advice would be to definitely align yourself with organizations that value that as well, because there's a lot of industries out there who sadly don't at this moment. But I think for tech, that's definitely a focus. And over the years, I think there has been more equity. If you compare it to like the 90s, like it was predominantly a lot of men at the table, but we're definitely getting closer. There's still more work to be done. I think in IBM right now, 42% of exec positions are held by women, which is, a lot more than our competitors, but still 42%, there's still some work to be done. There needs to be equal representation. But yeah, just adding on to Francesca said, it's so true. It's a statistically proven fact that women, even if they have 100% of the skills that meet a job description, they still won't sometimes put their hands up because, you feel more critical of yourself and you're not as confident in your skills. Whereas men don't even if they don't have all the necessary skills for a job, they'll still apply, still put their hands up because they tend to overrate themselves. So definitely, there's work to be done there and making sure that we're confident and affirmed in our capabilities. So, yeah, I think the tech industry generally is getting there, but there's always more work to be done.
Those are really great points. And it's really great to see that IBM especially is a leader in that changing and developing industry to become more inclusive to women, and that you guys are a part of that change. So that's really great. My next question for you guys is, what is your advice for people in university who are wishing to pursue a career in tech? Are there certain relevant technical skills and soft skills that you think are essential?
So to start, technical skills, honestly, my advice for technical skills and for interviewing, if you can describe a certain type of technology like AI, machine learning, etc., in one sentence, that's incredible. Like if you could just say anything in confidence in one sentence, no matter which tech company you're applying to, and you can sound confident and like make it understandable, that's honestly enough. It just having that very baseline tech knowledge, understanding how technology is solving problems and the benefits that it provides, those two areas are really key when it comes to the knowledge that you need. And soft skills, it's confidence is really, really key, especially in sales and tech sales. Having confidence and being a good listener is another thing in tech sales or in sales in general. Asking the right questions and having that curiosity to learn more, especially when you're talking to clients. You want to dig down into what their problems are, because in the tech world, like when you're selling, you're not going to sell something necessarily just within a few days. Sometimes it takes like weeks or months even, and it's a lot of back and forth communication. So that's mainly my advice, or when it comes to tech and soft skills. And honestly, like just start networking, figure out what, like if you want to go tech, do you want to go and work for some of the larger companies, Google, Microsoft, IBM? Do you want to work for some of the smaller companies? Start networking, network to both, because there's differences working in corporate, and then there's also the perks working for smaller startups in tech and medium companies. Just build your network and communicate with as much people as you can. And when building your network, you don't necessarily need to network with VPs or managers, because those people are extremely busy. I would suggest reaching out to like new grads as well that just started their role. They just went through the process. How are they liking it so far? And I think that that's kind of what I did when I started out. I went to all these events. I tried networking as much as possible to learn as much as I can. And then from there, and I also did case competitions and stuff and conferences throughout university as well, kind of to help me prepare for that. But just put yourself out there, and asking questions does not hurt. Everyone knows you're a student. So really leverage, like, I'm a student, and help me answer these questions. And people will help. People are happy to help all the time.
Yeah, so adding to that, that's great advice, Sarah. I think the only thing I would add is really taking advantage of your resources, like Sarah mentioned, right? So if you have, if you're in first or second year, my advice would be get involved however you can within your university. Start to build the soft skills that you need, whether it's through case competitions or just joining a student group, running a conference. Like that's a lot of really good transferable skills that you gain from those experiences. You don't necessarily notice it in the moment too, because a lot of times they're fun experiences. You're doing it with your friends in university and things like that. But you do gain a lot of great transferable skills. So I would say get involved, do things that, are exciting for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be taking, a tech course and learning tech skills. But if you're doing things that you really like, you're going to find that you're going to gain a lot of skills that will become transferable no matter where you end up. So just do things that you like in university, get involved as much as you can, take advantage of the resources. If you guys have any kind of career hub, I would really recommend, getting advice on your resume when you're starting to apply to jobs. Ask them about open internships. What kind of opportunities can they connect you with? And just build that resume as much as you can, so you have a really good foundation when you're going to apply to a job. When it comes to tech in particular, I think it would really depend on the type of role that you're going into. When it comes to sales, I think it's just important to understand problem solving on a high level. How can you use technology to solve problems? How is IBM using technology to solve problems, or whatever organization you end up applying to in the tech industry? So figure out, what are the popular use cases? What are the great success stories that this company is showcasing on their website? So you can start to get a peek into what they're doing day to day and what the business problems are that they're solving. And I think that, if that's something that excites you when you're reading that on their website, definitely apply and pursue that opportunity. That's why I chose IBM, is because I would read about different use cases. I would see, different things IBM was doing in healthcare, and, the changes that IBM was making worldwide. And for me, that's really important, to work for a company that has values in those areas. So yeah, align yourself with the right opportunity, take advantage of your resources, and never underestimate yourself. When it comes to the tech skills, I honestly was terrified coming into IBM. I was like, you know what? I don't come from a technical background at all. How am I going to sell these, huge technology solutions, or how am I going to communicate with my clients? And you know what? It's really never been an issue for me. We have a lot of great technical resources at IBM, as do many other companies. And everyone does their function. So if you're in a sales job or a consulting role, that's your job, and your technical resources will back you when you need them. So don't be afraid of, oh, I don't have the technical skills, or I don't have enough knowledge. Try your best to fill the gaps if you feel there are gaps, but don't underestimate yourself. Still go for the opportunities, and try your best.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Sarah and Francesca have to say. Something a mentor once told me when I was recruiting is, you don't need to have technical skills. You need to be willing to learn and be a sponge, and watch your coworkers see what they're doing, and be able to problem solve and think on your feet. And those learning those technical skills will come. Those can be taught, but those soft skills, your core skills, your problem solving, critical thinking, teamwork, those can't really be taught. Those are built over time. So once you have those core skills and a willingness to learn and grit, I think you can really achieve anything and learn about those technical skills. And I think that advice was really important to me and pursued me to pursue opportunities outside of my comfort zone, because I've noticed through my role, it's true. I know so much, I learn so much every week that I didn't know. And I think that's just the most important thing, is that willingness to learn and determination. And with that, things will come.
Thank you. Those were all very helpful tips, really great advice for anyone, not even just looking to pursue a career in tech. So our next question is directed towards Francesca and Sarah. Do you both find that your work is largely the same routine tasks each day, or are your roles more dynamic in nature?
So I would say it's dynamic in nature, because every client comes from a different size company, a different industry, looking for a different type of technology. And like Francesca said, I learn something new every single day. So, and because I'm learning something new every single day, dealing with having different types of conversations, it does feel dynamic and different all the time. And you're scheduling meetings all the time, every day, different, you're doing different things, talking to different people. Like, yes, it's the same type of cold calling, or like there's certain things that are the same within your job, but because of the different conversations that you're having on a day-to-day, that's really what makes it more dynamic in my role in the digital area at IBM.
Yeah, I would agree with Sarah. I think it's like a 50-50. There's obviously a lot of reporting that we have to do. We have to show our managers that we're actually meeting with clients and driving sales. And so, of course, we have a lot of admin work in the back end to report on every opportunity that we're identifying and that we're nurturing and all of that. So I would say, there is a big routine piece to it. And time management is really important, to be honest with you. It wasn't a great strength of mine as a student. So I got whipped into shape pretty fast in this role on how to manage my time. So I think when you're in sales, like Sarah said, you have so many different things happening at once. And because we're cross-brand at IBM, we cover a massive amount of technology within our portfolio. So it's really important to be agile, to adapt constantly, but at the same time to be organized and to manage your time in an efficient way, so that, at least your manager knows what you're doing, you're able to report, you're keeping track of your targets. Like, it's just a lot of moving parts. So it is dynamic in nature, but there is also those routine pieces. So yeah, I would say it's about 50-50 for me.
Great, thank you. That was really insightful. Next question is specifically for Jasleen. You mentioned that you enjoy working in the tech industry because of the job security. Does securing this position or your position in the tech industry give you stability in the current landscape of COVID-19? And do you feel like this line of work will always be in demand?
Yeah, so I feel like what we do is help clients prepare themselves for the upcoming changes in the industry. So, colleagues of mine have helped clients adapt to COVID-19 and how that's affected their business and how they can use IBM technologies to kind of mitigate risks to their business. And we're also on the front lines disrupting industries and helping clients adapt and manage to the changing landscape. So I think as things change, we will continue to be on the front lines and helping adapt. And I don't really see as a disruptor being disrupted. So I think it's definitely safe for now. With COVID, we've, kept hiring and haven't really let go of people to my knowledge. So I think that it's definitely a safe industry to be in because, you are the ones that are helping, change the landscape and and create the future of tech. So I would say there's a lot of, job security.
Great, thank you. That's so great to hear for anyone interested in a career in technology in the future. So for everyone now, what was the most defining moment of your career thus far?
So looking at this question, this one was kind of hard for me because I just entered my career. But I can say this, like the training part, I still honestly felt like I was in school, but it was a challenge first starting out virtually, learning my role. Francesca was honestly my mentor, so she helped me out a lot. But it is challenging. You're sitting on your computer alone, like trying to figure things out, and then you have to like schedule a quick meeting or call someone if you have questions, and it's a lot to figure out. There's like so many different areas, and it was like the month of February was a struggle. But I think now March started and it's been a month of me kind of like struggling and everything and figuring it out. But now that I've gone through that hard month and I'm starting to feel more confident, and honestly being confident in your role it's such a good feeling, because now you're making an impact in your role. Now you can actually start doing things and looking good doing things. And I think that that's one factor that is defining in my few month start of my career. But honestly, like I think that applies to anyone in any role. Like there is that learning curve and it is frustrating, but you just have to know that like you just need to get through that bump and things will get easier. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Like I still ping Fran multiple times a day, every day, and I'm so thankful for her. And not only Francesca, but everyone. And I don't know if this is at IBM or at all companies, but everyone is so willing to help. You just can't be afraid to ask those questions. I think it's way better to ask questions and rather than do something wrong for a long time and then find out later that you have to do it a different way. It's better just to know how to do things right early on. So that's how I can answer that question to the best I can.
Yeah, so mine is, I guess, pretty similar to Sarah's. Yeah, I've been at IBM for about a year and 8 months now, so it's still very early on, nothing truly earth-shattering yet. But I would say my most defining moment probably came in my first couple of weeks at IBM. Part of our summit program is training through sales calls. So what they'll do in the summit program is set you up with a number of retired IBM executives, and these folks come back and volunteer their time, and you do these mock sales calls. They run for about 20 to 30 minutes, and they give you the whole use case and the scenario, and you basically present to them as if they were your client. So obviously very nerve-wracking for your first couple of weeks in a company. You don't know how you're going to perform or what the standard is. So I think for me, like I said, I tend to underestimate myself because I don't have the technical skills sales, or, you know, I'm a new grad. And a lot of the people I was working with had a lot of experience under their belt already. So I was very intimidated by the entire training process in the summit program. So I think a big defining moment for me was actually getting in there and doing the sales calls and getting really great feedback from my peers, from the mentors. So it really helped me realize my value, my worth, helped me really take a moment to reflect on, you know, what are my areas of improvement? What are my strengths? And to be honest with you, I never really thought about my strengths in that way. Like, you know, what's the list of my strengths, or what am I good at? So I think that was a big defining moment for me to just self-reflect a little bit more and to really appreciate myself. I think that's something we forget to do sometimes, is just appreciate what we're good at, appreciate what our strengths are. For me, it was, you know, building relationships and being, you know, being very a good communicator, and you know, connecting to people. That's what I'm good at. And so I use that in my sales calls, and to get that feedback and hear it from other people, it kind of made me realize I need to appreciate those parts about myself, and I need to really leverage those strengths in my everyday role. So I think it really, the defining moment for me was just that self-awareness, and really trying to leverage that every single day.
Yeah, so similarly, I again just joined 5 months ago, so haven't had that much exposure. But one of the things that came to mind is something I actually was involved in recently. So the current client I'm working with is one of like an IBM like top client. So it's a very important client and contract. And so my manager actually, you know, pushed me to take charge of a deliverable and manage a small team of 3 people to get this key deliverable to the client and create it from like strategy to creation to delivery. Like that was like, I was taking ownership of that. And to me, that was really defining, because I was like, wow, like these people, this is like a very critical part of what we're delivering here, part of a really very big strategy roadmap. So it's really important that I get this right. And they had the belief in me that I have the capability to do it. And that was just so reassuring, because, you know, I feel like everyone has some extent of self-doubt, but when that's externally affirmed and people believe in you in such a big way, it's really meaningful. So that whole process of creating that deliverable, it was very, very rewarding, because it was like I was in charge of like creation to delivery. So to see my skills develop over time to create something that's really impactful to the client and the overall strategy that we're implementing for the client was very rewarding. And that definitely gave me a boost of confidence, and has, you know, kind of pushed me to take on more responsibility and more opportunities and be self-assured in my capabilities. So yeah, definitely being given that opportunity, and then you know, doing a good job at that was very empowering and defining, because, you know, we don't always think that we have it in us, but when push comes to shove, yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing all of your individual experiences. That's really awesome. We're now going to open it up to questions from the audience. If you want to put it in the chat or just raise your hand, go for it. Now would be the time.
I guess I'll start. So thank you all for coming here and giving us your advice and take on what it's like to work at IBM. I actually really do want to work at IBM after I graduate. And I'm sorry, there's renovations happening in the background, so if it's loud, that's why. But I was actually like watching a whole bunch of videos on YouTube yesterday about tech consulting and tech sales. And I guess I have 2 questions. So I'll ask the first one now. In terms of tech sales versus tech consulting, what would you say are the biggest differences? Because I'm kind of leaning towards either or right now, but I'm not sure what it looks like at IBM respectively.
So
Oh, Sarah, do you want to go ahead?
do you want to? It doesn't matter. I could start off the tech sales part, but this is briefly what I heard from the difference between tech sales and tech consulting, because I kind of had a similar understanding. Tech sales, you're really dealing with like the very initial part, right? You're dealing with the client, making sure that your technology can solve their problem and benefit them, right? once you make that sale, you're done with them. You don't really deal with them that much anymore. And then it's consulting to do, like, to actually start the project and stay with them until the end. So that's really the difference. If you want to really work and implement and do all that stuff, that's maybe consulting. But sales is just like making sure that it's what you need, kind of, you're in the early phase of everything that's going on. You guys can add on, but that's my basic understanding of the key differences.
Yeah, I'll let Jasleen talk about the consulting portion of it, because I'm definitely not an expert in that space. But I think that the two roles probably overlap quite a bit when it comes to the skills that we use day to day. It's a lot of relationship building. I think even at IBM, like, a big focus for us is to be consultative in nature when we're selling. So we're not just trying to put a square plug into a round hole. We're actually trying to figure out what the client needs, and how we can tie in our solutions with their needs. So even in the sales process, we're very consultative in nature. We try to, do what the client needs as opposed to what we want to push. So I think that's really important to have those consulting skills, even if you are going to get into sales. So from my perspective, there's a lot of overlap between the two. I guess it just comes down to, what would you prefer to do day to day? Yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, consulting is definitely, I would say, a longer process. Like, you're going to be tied to a client for a lot longer than sales, where you're just involved maybe more so in the beginning, like Sarah was saying. But I would look at consulting in kind of like two sections. So, there's a strategy. So, that's working with the client to understand what their business is and define business needs and how IBM can fit into that gap and help them close that gap. And then there's the implementation. So, understanding what technology we're going to move forward with to help this client, and then how does that fit into their business? How does that fit in with their existing ERP programs, and how is that going to change, maybe the culture in the company, and how are we going to manage change? And it's a lot of, looking at it, I think, more holistically to see how technology impacts a certain client, and kind of working with those different tenants to making sure that it's a successful transition and implementation. So yeah, very, very dynamic. Yeah.
Thank you. I did have one more question. So I guess I'm wondering more about the sales summit program. So I'm in my third year right now, and I'm applying to 1-year internships. And right now, the sales summit program deadline has closed. So I'm wondering if you have recommendations on what type of internship to secure for the next year. Do you recommend pursuing a sales internship? And do you think that I should stay within the tech industry, or would it be okay to go into other industries as well? Because I was kind of debating, like, if should I take a non-sales internship but in a different industry or in the tech industry, or should I do a sales role but not in the tech industry? Like, I was debating and I wasn't really sure. So I was wondering what you guys thought about that.
So to start, I mean, obviously, like, a sales role in a tech industry, you're following that path. I don't think it's necessary to have either a sales role or being in the tech industry. Is helpful, but it's not exactly necessary, as long as you have those transferable skills and you can prove that to the employer, and you can prove why you want to work at IBM. Like, why IBM is a key question that they ask, and they want to see why you want to work there. And then I remember, for me, because I was in marketing, so I was a marketing intern. I joined the like Ryerson Marketing Association. There's a lot of marketing in my area too, but in my student involvement, I was also I had the corporate relations roles as well, and I had the marketing roles, and I told her that that was my way of kind of balancing the two. And for me personally, marketing was kind of like the start, and you always get all the leads, but you can't work them after. And I told her I want to work them after. So as long as you can prove that you're adaptable and that you're curious and that you're confident and you have those sales skills, the tech part doesn't necessarily need to be there right away, because that comes over time. But I think if you can prove your transferable skills, that's all that really matters. The fact that you are getting an internship and you're putting yourself out there, I think, is amazing. Just stick with what you're passionate about and where you can learn the most to apply those skills moving forward.
Yeah, definitely agree with Sarah. Same with Sarah. I had a pretty unique background. I didn't have any formal internship experience throughout university. I led a couple of student groups. I worked in retail. I worked at Starbucks. So yeah, very. There's so many different paths you can take to the end result. But at the same time, I did network really heavily within the summit program within IBM. I probably knew like 10 to 15 people before I even had my first interview. So obviously that's going to help a lot. So I would say definitely get that experience, get that stuff on your resume that's going to help and that you can actually speak to in an interview, whether it's just a sales internship, whether it's a tech internship. Whatever makes you happy in this moment, I think is what you should pursue. And if you're doing something that you like and you enjoy, like I said, those skills, you'll be able to talk about it very easily when you get to the interview process in within IBM or anywhere that you go. But I think it's just important to recognize, what skills you need to start cultivating right now.
I had a question as well. Thank you guys so much, by the way, for coming and talking. I've been taking some great notes, and it's just really great to see all women too from IBM. So that's awesome. But my question was, I wanted to know like a little bit more about your sort of experience in the training process, like learning about the different technologies. Since I'm pursuing a certificate in business tech, so um, even that I still feel like I have so much more to learn, and that going into it I might be a little intimidated. So I just wanted to know a little bit about your training sort of experience.
So I didn't have too much tech knowledge going in. So when I went to IBM, I was a little nervous. Honestly, they tell you you don't necessarily need to prepare too much technical knowledge going in because it's going to be like a power hose coming at you. And they're like, just be a sponge, learn everything like that you can, like as much as you can. And honestly, like being completely honest, I was frustrated a lot of the times because it takes a bit of time to really understand how tech works. And I think because at IBM, the spectrum of technology, like I still learn till this day, like there's new technology that IBM offers that I had no idea about. So I think when you look at all of it at once, it's kind of a lot. But if you just take baby steps and learn one thing at a time, learn its key benefits. And like, I think because especially if you're in sales, like learning about the problems it solves and like the benefits that it offers are very key. And like, eventually you'll see patterns in everything that it offers and how things integrate. So it will come over time. And like, you'll learn a lot. But at IBM, for example, at the summit program, the way it worked is they would give you like one case for a few weeks, and you would work on that one case, and that one case could be around blockchain, it could be around cloud, it could be around whatever. So that's how they kind of trained you to learn certain types of technology over time. But you just have to be adaptable and want to learn. And even watching YouTube videos, there's so many YouTube videos. I find that that's a way that I can learn, like watching just like the 10-minute short ones or reading use cases too. That really helps me understand to see how things work and how they're benefiting our clients.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's tough to prep in advance. And I think that was something that I struggled with too. After I got my offer from IBM, I had about a year of school left. So I was like, okay, how can I start scaling up and learning about tech? And you can definitely start doing, little certificates here and there and watch YouTube videos and things like that. But it's not always going to be the same as when you get there. So when you actually get into IBM and then you start to see, okay, these are the technologies that I'm working with, or these are the products that are really hot or clients are asking for, then you can start to go a little deeper in those spaces. On top of that, too, IBM has such a great amount of resources for learning, which I've taken advantage of over the years. And they really encourage you to constantly, take those certificates and get those certifications through our online portals. So I think every quarter we're required to get about 40 hours of just learning. So that's something that I really love about IBM, is that you're always push to learn, and there's always new things to learn. I think over the a year and a half that I've been here now, I actually have not even, when I look back on it, I can't believe how many things I've learned over time, and how many acronyms I didn't know coming into IBM that now it's like second nature. Sometimes I'm communicating with Sarah and I have to clarify a little because I've learned so many different things, right? So yeah, you learn as you go, and as you have those conversations, you start to figure out, okay, what do I need to prioritize and focus on, and then you drive towards those areas.
Yeah, definitely agreed. It's definitely learn as you go, and IBM has a huge plethora of resources. There's these things called badges, which are awesome because you get to learn, and then you get something also to put on your LinkedIn or put on your resume that really shows your learning, and it's accredited, so it's proven that you have knowledge or practitioner knowledge in a certain subject. So that's an awesome way to learn and show your learning for projects that may come up. So I think don't let a lack of knowledge dissuade you. Like I said before, if you have those soft skills and a willingness to learn, that'll take you such a long way. That combined with the resources that I'm sure a lot of the tech companies provide. So yeah, I also do have to drop for an appointment at 3:30. But it was awesome meeting you guys. Lauren, you can share my email with anyone, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. But thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Jasleen.
you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go with Jennifer and then Zoe.
Hi, thank you so much for the panel discussion. I learned so much from what everyone has said so far. I just had a question based off what was said about the job description, that, we women, we tend not to apply until we see like we meet every description. So I was just wondering, because there are normally descriptions they put in there for a reason that you have to actually have before you can apply for the job. How do you seclude that? How do you point that out, to know that that's what you really need, and these other ones are kind of things they expect you to be willing to learn and on the job, instead of something you need to apply? How would you be able to pick that out of a job description?
So I would say sometimes at the top, like when it says required, there sometimes if there's certain softwares or tools, or like a degree, for example, those are kind of the things that you need to have if it's more like hard skills. But then the soft skills stuff, that's kind of what they hope you have to be interested in the role, and those are certain skills that will make you really good at being in that role. So, for example, if you don't have, I'm just throwing this out there, if you're not someone that enjoys meeting new people or communicating, or communication is not a really good skill, maybe sales might not be a fit for you. So sometimes the requirements are like, is this really something that you would enjoy and this would be a fit for you, rather than you cannot work here kind of thing. So that it's kind of look at the hard skills versus the soft skills. The soft skills will really make you understand if you will enjoy your role.
Yeah, it certainly depends on the type of role. I think for sales, for example, just to give you like a high level example, like obviously what Sarah's saying, communication is going to be important, relationship building, having a high level of technical knowledge, things like that. But, if they ask you for, we're looking for specific skills that how to use Salesforce in and out, that's probably something you can learn when you get there, right? Like once you're starting to manage your opportunities and things like that, you'll learn how to use Salesforce, or you can get more training on that once you actually get to IBM. So I think it's important to, be able to pick that apart and understand what the basic functions are of the role. Something I use that may be helpful to you, you guys, while you're doing your applications, I use this website called JobScan while I was applying to jobs. And I found it really helpful when I was trying to figure out what gaps I had in my resume versus the job description. So what you do on the website is you'll upload your resume, you upload the job description you're applying to, and it will tell you, okay, you're missing this skill or this skill, maybe add this piece to your resume. So that helped me a lot just to kind of identify the gaps that I had and either figure out ways that I can bring in some experience that would fill that gap, or, at least I know I'm aware, okay, this is one of the skills that I don't have for the job, and I'm, hopefully I can learn it when I get there. Don't forget too, when you're applying to jobs and when you're doing interviews, you're also interviewing them, right? So it's not, I think a lot of times we think, oh, we need to meet all the requirements and be perfect for the job description. You're also going to give your time and your life to that job, right? So 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, that's going to be what you're spending your time on. You want to make sure you like it and that the fit is right for you as well. So don't worry so much about, the descriptions and things like that. Show them what you're good at. And if the fit is there, then you'll get the job, and you'll probably be happier when you're going for jobs that, you feel is a two-way fit and there's mutual appreciation, right? So yeah, don't forget those parts of it too, and use JobScan for sure. Very helpful.
Thank you so much.
Hi guys. So I love this panel because I have kind of like the same background. I have an interest in marketing and tech, but not a lot of tech experience. So I really appreciated the advice to sort of leverage your skills in interviews. Don't focus too much on the tech because you can learn that after. So I kind of have, and you answered all my questions. I had questions written down. You answered all of them. So I have more of an open-ended kind of fun question for you guys, because you're both sort of newer in your roles. What would you like to see for yourself in your role, as well as the company in the future, I guess, past COVID?
So I'm still figuring out what my 5-year plan looks like. And I'm kind of right now, I think one thing that I learned is the most important thing, obviously, is be really good at your current job. Because if you can't hit your target and prove to your manager that you are great at what you do, there's not going to be another role, right? So I think because I just started, I was like, hey, let me just get really good at what I'm doing right now so that I can like plan it for the future. But one thing, for example, that I'm really interested in, so I had a minor in entrepreneurship, so I kind of enjoy design thinking and innovation. So one thing that I took an opportunity to do is volunteer to facilitate a design thinking session for internal IBMers. And I think what's great about IBM is there are so many volunteer opportunities that you can take advantage of, and that way you can network with different IBMers and kind of figure out what you like. And I'm honestly always scheduling coffee chats with different people in different roles to learn more about what they do and different industries and different areas of technology. I think over time I'll have a better understanding of what my 5 to 10 year plan kind of looks like. But right now I kind of want to I'm just kind of browsing, keeping my eyes open for everything and trying out different things. So like if I like design thinking a lot, for example, and I kind of keep wanting to do that, then maybe once I've finished my sales career, I can kind of shift and do something else. I think IBM is a company that kind of wants you to have your whole career there. So, and they will encourage you and give you the resources you need to do what you want to do. But before you do that, you need to be really good at what you're currently doing. So that's kind of my advice.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think, especially in the early stages at IBM, I literally had like one coffee chat every single week, just with different people in the business. And I think that that's what really helps you figure out what you want to do. For me personally, I just love people. I love meeting new people. I love talking to people, hearing about their experiences. And that's how I learn best, whether it comes to learning about tech or just learning about people's career path. That's when things really stick for me. So that's why I took that approach, is because I know that I'm that type of person, that I learned from networking and I learned from talking to people. So yeah, I would say just network as much as you can to figure out what your next step would be in your career and things like that. For me personally, I think it needs to be something in management. I want to manage people. I want to have a team of my own. Just having the pleasure of mentoring Sarah over the past year has been such like a great experience, right? And I think it adds so much value to my job too, to see her succeed in things that, maybe I showed her a foundation of that, and then she's gone and made it her own and she's been successful in it. For me, that brings me great satisfaction to see that, right? And I think that's across the board. So, when you're able to then take your skills that you're learning and share it with others, I think it's really important. And I think especially as females, that's something that you have to do constantly, right? Like I said, I've had some really wonderful female mentors, and to be honest, they've made a huge difference in my life. They've really shown me, don't be afraid of things, be confident, push forward for what you want and things like that. So I think for myself, it's going to be managing people and finding a way that I can continue to use those skills and continue to mentor others and support them in their careers. When it comes to where I want to see IBM, I think IBM has made a lot of really great changes in the past couple of years. A big thing about working here is stuff never stays the same. We're always changing, we're always restructuring, we're always adapting, and it's really important, especially with the current state of events in the world right now, and just the rapid transformation that happens in the technology industry. It's important to work for a company that's up to par with that. So I think I'd just like to see that continue. I'd like to see us continue to grow, and I think at the core of everything, I'd like to see IBM put the client first constantly. I think sometimes, because we are an older company, we do sometimes have a reactive approach to things, and sometimes we're a little bit behind on certain parts of the industry. So I would like to see IBM put the client first a little more, be a little bit more proactive in nature, and really push forward with the client in mind. But I think we're definitely on the way, and great strides are being made constantly. So yeah, that's sort of my future vision for myself and IBM.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Anytime.
All right. Well, on behalf of the group, I would like to thank Sarah and Francesca for sharing all of your knowledge and experiences with us. I know we all found it very insightful and very motivating, especially for those of us that are interested in going into the tech industry. So for all of you that are still in the call, we will be having our closing remarks and giveaway reveal at 3:45 in this same call. And then we are going to be having networking with this morning's panelist, Dr. Zanotti, at 4 o'clock. If you guys are interested, please definitely stay in this call for that.
Thank you guys so much for having us. And if anyone wants to continue the conversation, please feel free to add me on LinkedIn. Happy to answer any more questions that you guys may have.
For having me. I put my LinkedIn on the chat if anyone wants to connect and continue this conversation. I'm happy to give anyone advice. Thanks for having me.
I'll do the same here.
Thank you.
Thank you.